Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some breaking news right here because out of nowhere, well, kind of out of nowhere, the New England Patriots have officially traded Matthew Judon to the Atlanta Falcons for a third round pick, as reported by Ian Rappaport. I'm, I mean, I'm stunned in the way that it finally, I guess, came to fruition. But I'm a little pissed off too because again, a third round pick. Again, the NFL is kind of weird like that. How they superstars get traded for low round picks like that. I thought that for sure it could have been a better deal had they tried to line up a receiver with that. I'm trying to process it all right now because this is something that I was not expecting tonight. I was not expecting it to go down this way with Matthew Judon now out of town. I mean, he has been practicing the last couple of practices. Obviously, he didn't play in the first preseason game because even with everything that he wanted, I wouldn't expect him to get traded. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to play in that first preseason game, period, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But yeah, wow. Okay, Ian Rappaport, Matthew Judon is officially an Atlanta Falcon. And that is something that, you know what, you get him out of the division. He's in the NFC, so he's even out of conference. And thinking about the Falcons, they're going to be, I think, a better team than we might expect. I mean, with Kirk Cousins there, you have Bijan Robinson. They have their star receiver that they drafted last year in Drake London, or excuse me. Wow, he's coming to his third season. All right, so 2 years ago, Drake London, and now they're bolstering up their defense, and Arthur Blank's going to pay him. There's no doubt in my mind about that one. So, that's good. That's a good thing for Atlanta, and I think that might just put them over the edge for the NFC South. But as for the Patriots, because this is a Boston sports show, the Patriots just lost their best defensive player. And I don't say that lightly because I've been kind of back and forth about it. But with how the preseason has gone, with how the practices have gone, I don't think Christian Gonzalez is that guy right now. I think he's coming at it from a standpoint of he's a vet. He knows what he's doing, kind of, even though he only played 3.25 games last season, 3.5 before he got hurt and was done for the year. So I've always been of the mindset that as long as you build from the inside out, that's what's going to help you in the long run, because your D-line, if you have an elite defensive line, that can make your corners and DBs who might be mediocre look elite because they're getting after the quarterback that much faster. If you have a star offensive line, it can make average wide receivers look elite because it gives them more time to get downfield, create separation, and gives the quarterback plenty of time to scan the field, look where he wants to throw, and throw it. But now that Judon just got traded, Barmore is probably done for the season because of his blood clots, which I just gotta I want to welcome everybody into the Boston Sports Summit. I am your host, Tim Barnett. I know I got so thrown off with the Matthew Judon trade, I forgot to even introduce the show, introduce who I am. But it's interesting. It's interesting to see how that is going to affect this defense, because like I mentioned, Christian Gonzalez might not be pushing himself like he should. Christian Barmore, arguably our best interior defensive lineman, maybe second best if you want to say Judon was. Now it's Barmore, but he's done for the year. He had the blood clot issue. I know, and it's been a while. It's been a while. So it's wow. They're really pushing it. And what bothers me is too, like, listen, I was a proponent of, maybe just letting Judon play out this contract. I was, because the way I see it, Judon signed the contract. He got hurt last season. If he's expected to be paid top tier, what are we talking about top tier? And again, it sounds like from his perspective, he's not trying to set the record, but he also wants a lot more money. And it's hard to want a lot more money when you're coming off a season-ending injury. It is. But with the Patriots and their quote-unquote spending spree, which was basically a spending spree of, we're going to re-sign our guys. The team that went 4-13 last year, we're determined to bring them back because, we believe that they are better than the 4-13 record last season. Well, here's the funny thing. They would have been better had Christian Gonzalez played a full season, had Matthew Judon played the full season. But as we know, didn't happen. And again, by how many games? At least I would say 3. They'd have 3 more wins, no, maybe plus or minus 1 right there, because as well as the defense did play without those 2 guys, you still had to rely on that offense and Mac Jones trying to get after, trying to make sure that he is scoring the points to give them the victory, which, that was rough. So that is I kind of want to say it's a good thing, because at least he's off the team. You got a pretty decently high pick for him, which I like. That's going to be, I think that's going to be, worth something, not gold, obviously. It's a 3rd rounder, but it's better than a 6th. It's better than just shipping him out of here basically for nothing. And that's what those 5, 6, 7 round picks are. So I'm wow. I'm a little stunned. I'm a little surprised. I think it's a good thing, but if I want the team to succeed this year, if that's really what I want, then that's awful. Then that's a stupid decision. So that's the big breaking news of the last 20 minutes. Matthew Judon just got traded to the Falcons, but I want to start off now, getting back to the regularly scheduled programming. I want to start off catching up on everything that's gone on, because we've had some things go down. That's why I haven't been on. So ever since the trade deadline special, that was that's looking better and better every day, right, Red Sox fans, right, guys? Sheesh. But starting off with the Patriots, it's going down that, first of all, Brandon Ayuk almost became a New England Patriot. Over the last 2 weeks, week and a half, whatever it was, whatever it's been, Brandon Ayuk almost became a New England Patriot, because on August 5th, the Niners agreed to the framework with the Patriots and the Browns, but it's mostly a Patriots thing, that Brandon Ayuk was going to become a Patriot. And I was so ready for it. I was waiting for him to sign that contract, and I was so excited to post this. Welcome to New England, Brandon Ayuk. But that didn't happen. Nope. Why? Because Brandon Ayuk was seeking an extension. And before he was even traded here, before there was even a trade worked out, he wanted an extension from the Niners. And with that, it was all about wanting to be a highly paid guy. He wanted, $28 million, which would have put him in the top echelon of receivers. but the Niners weren't going to pay for it. So that's where the whole trade situation came in. The framework was worked out with the Patriots. And when ESPN, when SportsCenter spoke to Mike Reese, now I've always enjoyed Mike's work. I think he's done a very good job being a Patriots reporter. He's been really right in there, getting to the nitty gritty of every story coming out of New England. He made this report on SportsCenter about a week ago.
What can you tell us about the approach that the Patriots are taking to get receiver Ayuk?
All right, I'm going to give you one word: aggressively. A source told me that the Patriots are willing to make Ayuk one of the top 5 highest paid receivers in the NFL in average per year. Put him there right.
That's right. Average annual value. New England was ready to do that, make him one of, if not the highest paid receiver, which I don't know. They were going to give him the highest amount, behind the likes of Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, but he was going to be up there. He was going to be in that top echelon for sure in average annual value. The only thing about that is it wasn't enough. And what I mean by it wasn't enough was Ayuk ended up turning us down. He ended up pulling out and saying, nope, I don't want to go to New England. And then, of course, after New England backed out, they removed everything off the table after speaking with Ayuk's representatives. They were like, no, we're down. We're out. No more of this. But it leads me to the thought that what was the offer? What was the contract? Obviously the Patriots were going to be
aggressively.
Thank you, Mike. They were going to be aggressive on it, but by how much? Because Ayuk said it was the quarterback situation. It's, I just don't like what New England's got for quarterbacks right now. Not for nothing, I don't blame him. Outside of maybe the prospect of Drake Maye, but again, it's a prospect. We have fallen so far that it's not over. It's not that we have to overpay to get guys. No. We have to pay them an extraordinary amount more than what overpaying actually is. So you overpay a guy by a couple million, 5 million, that's one thing, just to get the guy. We are at that level. This team, this organization is at that level. We are not a destination anymore. We are not going to get superstar players just on our laurels. No, we're going to get guys by overpaying them an extraordinary amount of money. 10, 15, 20 plus over maybe what they should deserve. Why? Because money talks. Money talks. Greed is good. And do you think that the Kraft family is going to do that? No, they're not. It's crazy to me. Elliott Wolf wanted to weaponize the offense. But when it came to Calvin Ridley, which I'm glad we didn't get Ridley, I didn't think he was a number one receiver. I don't think he's a number one receiver. And I don't believe that with our receiving core, he would have benefited from it. And it would have been worth it, I guess. But we came in at $1 million short of what he wanted for guaranteed. Tennessee gave him 41. We gave him 40. We're still acting cheap. Now, I'm not saying that we're acting cheap on Ayuk. I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is, though, New England can't skate by being in a bidding war with other teams for top players right now by matching what other teams are doing or being better or below by $1 million. Can't do it. We have to be the team that blows this guy out of the water. That the agent has to then look at his client and say, dude, you gotta take this deal. I don't care that it's in Foxboro, Massachusetts. I don't care that it gets 20 degrees in December. Suck it up, take the money, because it's going to give me a nice, healthy pay cut or payday. That's what the agent has to tell his client for the foreseeable future with this Patriots team. Because we're not a destination anymore. And the problem with that, and part of the problem, I would say to that, is that we have these clowns as our offensive coordinator, our quarterback coach, and our senior offense assistant. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Ben McAdoo is still being paid by the Panthers. So he's basically free labor. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. And why do I call them bozos and clowns? Well, for starters, you've had 4 months to work with a guy in Drake Maye who was deemed very raw. Bad footwork, never called plays in the huddle. He couldn't take a snap from the center. Like, all these things, right? That's what Drake Maye was, and he took him 3rd overall. Now, was I, a proponent of Drake Maye? Not necessarily. So better yet, no. But what I did like about him was I thought he had talent. I thought he had athleticism. I thought that he was a big dude that could sling the ball a country mile with ease, and that maybe with a good offensive coordinator, a guy that's part of the McVay, Shanahan type systems, that coordinator could develop an offense around Drake Maye. Because at the end of the day, every single quarterback that has ever had success in this league, it's because that they gel with the system the offensive coordinator and or head coach is running. Because if you're going to say to Tom Brady, hey, we're going to run a lot of RPOs, we're going to get you out of the pocket, and Tom Brady's going to get killed and he's going to suck and he's not going to be Tom Brady. Right? So they've had 4 months to work with this guy. They had the first preseason game last week. And what happened? You start off game number 1, Jacoby Brissett gets the first series. Cool. I that's fine. Whatever. That made sense. If he got the first 2, it wouldn't have bothered me. But then they bring in Drake Maye for the second series. And I lost my mind. I was pumped. I'm like, here we go. Let's go. Drake Maye, he's coming in. And in the first series, he gets 6 snaps. He goes 2 for 3 for 19 yards, which both completions were basically just dump offs to the running back. I think the final one to Kevin Harris that didn't pick up the first down was more of a check down. Like he read the field, he didn't see anybody open, so he just dumped it off to Kevin Harris, who couldn't get the first down. There was the one incompletion that he had was I think it was KJ Osborne, and I thought Osborne should have had that. So that's on the receiver, not on the quarterback. But I'm like, okay, fair start. It's the second drive. We're gonna get the rest of the first quarter, maybe even up until halftime, which would have been great. But all of a sudden, right after that, the Patriots stopped the Panthers for a 3-and-out, and then Bailey Zappi walks into the game and proceeds to get the majority of the possessions from the rest of the first quarter, all second quarter, and into the third quarter. I lost my mind. Why, you ask? Because Bailey Zappi is not here to get to put a resume together of clips and film that gets him traded or picked up by another team once he gets cut. That's what he did last season when he substituted Mac Jones in regular season games. Regular season games. Not this crap that is preseason. Where, by the way, Drake Maye and the offense were going against third and fourth stringers for Carolina. Why not leave him in the game? Right? Why not? People are saying, and I think maybe, saying without saying it, they're talking about the O-line's the issue. It's the offensive line's fault. The team knows that the O-line's not good, so they're not going to leave Drake Maye out there so that he can get killed. How is he going to get killed by a third-string defensive line? A third-string defense. Plus, he should have been out there with the first stringers, getting comfortable, with the first teamers. He should have. But no. They had to pull him. They had to do that. They only had to give him 6 snaps, 3 pass attempts, and then, of course, the 2 completions were both checkdowns. And it was funny because after that, I'm like, man, I'm so excited to see what happens with the other quarterbacks, that were taken. Not Caleb Williams, because we know what Caleb Williams was. So I looked at Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, and Bo Nix. The second overall draft pick, so the pick before Drake Maye. Jaden Daniels also had 1 possession. He started the game. He went 2 of 3 for 45 yards on 11 plays and 1 rushing touchdown. Jaden Daniels checked into a play that equaled a 42-yard completion. He checked into it on the field at the line himself. This wasn't called by Cliff Kingsbury, the Commanders' offensive coordinator. No, he did it himself. Does that tell you how comfortable he is? So the fact that, he got 1 possession and 5 more snaps than 6 more snaps than Drake Maye, does that make me feel better? Does that make me feel better? No. Because that play right there, the 42-yard bomb on the sideline, pin perfect throw, right where his guy could get it. Come to find out that Jaden Daniels checked into it himself. He saw the coverage. He knew what was going to happen, and he yelled out to his guy, "Go!" And that's what he did. So basically, Jaden Daniels is feeling comfortable in Washington. Meanwhile, the 8th overall draft pick, Michael Penix, had 5 drives, went 9 for 16, 104 yards. The number 10 overall draft pick by the Vikings, J.J. McCarthy, had 6 possessions, went 11 for 17, $188, 2 touchdowns, 1 really bad pick. Shouldn't have made that throw. He also had 2 rushes for 18 yards. The number 12 overall draft pick, Bo Nix, by the Broncos, had 5 possessions, went 15 to 21 for $125, had 1 touchdown. Like, what are we doing here in New England? I think that's the $1 million question. I'm wondering, what are the Patriots doing? Because Mike Reese had a tweet on Sunday that I thought was brilliant. And he showed all of the top quarterback snap counts in their preseason debut for all the top quarterbacks from 2021 onward. So the 2021 draft, 22, 23, and this year. Here it is. Here's the graphic. You have Bo Nix, who allegedly had the most. The reason why it's 37 or 39 is because when I counted out the snaps, it was 39 total, but there were 2 defensive pass interference plays. So because they were accepted, technically the snap doesn't count anymore. So with that, it makes it 37. However you want to count it, 37 to 39. Then you have Justin Fields and Mac Jones at 33 snaps in their preseason debuts. J.J. McCarthy, Kenny Pickett with 32, Will Levis at 30, Trey Lance and Anthony Richardson at 29, Michael Penix at 25, Zach Wilson at 22. Zach Wilson, wow, he was really good. Kyle Trask, who I don't think has seen a single snap in a regular season game. By the way, he's a Gator. It's a travesty, I think, what they're doing to him in Tampa. But Caleb Williams had 20. Trevor Lawrence had 15. Jaden Daniels with 12. CJ Stroud with 12. And Bryce Young with 11. And Drake Maye had the biggest number of them all. 6. That's it. 6 snaps for Drake Maye. And again, were Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy, and Bo Nix perfect? No. They looked like rookies. But why I'm bringing them up, why I'm telling you how many possessions they had, why I'm talking about all the other quarterbacks for the last 4 years, 3 to 4 years, why I'm bringing them up is because these guys gave their fan bases hope. They showed a little something, whether it's a little something or a lot of something. They showed something to their fan bases and to their teams. So now Washington fans get to sit there and say, yeah, Jaden Daniels only had 1 possession and he went 2 of 3 for 45 yards and he ran a ball in. But you know what? I like what I saw. That throw that he checked into, whoa. Where does that happen? Michael Penix going 9 for 16, $104. Getting 5 drives, the first 5 drives of the game. And J.J. McCarthy, unfortunately, it was discovered that J.J. McCarthy is now done for the season with, his meniscus repair. He tore his meniscus. And so he's unfortunately done for the season for the Vikings. But what they saw, they liked. I mean, heck, I liked it. The fact that I think his third pass or second pass, he stood in the pocket, staring down a defender coming right at him and drops a dime about 10 to 15 yards from where he's standing. Perfect. It's so frustrating to sit here as a Patriots fan who not too long ago had it all. The greatest coach of all time, and especially the greatest quarterback of all time. Players wanted to come to New England for one of those 2 guys. That was it. Now we have a coaching staff and a coaching staff that's brand new. Gerard Mayo. And then you have Gerard Mayo, who was not prepared to take the job this season. And it's clear because of some of the hires like Alex Van Pelt, who was an offensive coordinator, never called plays, QB coach for the Bengals, Packers, running back coach for the Packers, and a QB coach for the Bucks. Listen, I hope it works out. I really do. But it's like knowing what you know and knowing how it all just happened. How can you not, as a Patriots fan, be pissed? How can you not sit there and say that, Alex Van Pelt, this is his first real offensive coordinator job at the age of over 50. That doesn't happen in the NFL. And what I mean by real offensive coordinator is the fact that he's calling plays, designing the offense, but from all intents and purposes, it doesn't sound like he's designing the plays around Drake Maye. He's designing what he knows. And I guarantee you, anybody else from that McVay tree or Shanahan tree would be looking at Drake Maye and saying, okay, this offense is going to be designed around you and what you know. We're going to get you out of your comfort zone. We're going to make you go under center. We're going to make you change your footwork and do X, Y, and Z, whatever else that the kid needs work with. But at the end of the day, it's going to be designed around him and what he's good at, especially for the preseason. I mean, hell, you couldn't give him several more plays that he ran in college that you could just implement here, because you're not going to carry any of these plays over to the regular season. You're not. It would be stupid if you did. And then, of course, Alex Van Pelt, according to Mike Reese, sent a message out to the season ticket holders saying about Drake Maye. And again, this is on Sunday, August 11th. This tweet came out. So I'm assuming it was after the it might not have been Sunday, but it could have been Saturday. It was after the first preseason game. Alex Van Pelt said about Drake Maye, quote, "He's been impressive and done everything we've asked him. He studies really hard and puts the work in. We've cleaned up his footwork. The biggest thing I've seen from him is the ability to process quickly. He can go from the first read to the third read very quickly. He sees the field really well." And to that, I just go, well, so what happened? You've had 4 months to work with this guy. You're afraid of the O-line. You're afraid of him, I would say, making a mistake. You're afraid that he's going to do too well, that it all of a sudden creates a quarterback controversy between him and Jacoby Brissett. But and then you've mentioned and talked about how he's extremely raw. His footwork is off. He can't do this. He can't do that. So what the hell is it? What is going on in Foxboro? You've had 4 months to work with this kid. And if you're still telling me his footwork is off, then that's either talking about you as a coach or this kid is not able to grasp it. I mean, so what? Is he unprepared? Is he just not ready? And what I mean by ready, I've never wanted Drake Maye to start week one. Just for the record, I was never on board with Drake Maye starting week one. But is he not even ready to be in the NFL? In that he truly has to sit and learn and study for an entire year before you're even going to give him a chance in spring ball or training camp of 2025. And if that's the case, then what are you doing taking this kid at 3 overall? Are you just listening to the draft people? Listening to the fact that they're like, oh, it's a 3 quarterback race. Truly, it became a 6 quarterback race, but it was a 3 quarterback race. Caleb Williams is obvious number 1, then Jane Daniels, then Drake Maye. Then you can start to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., Joe Alt, Rome Odunze. Then you can draft all those other guys. But no, you have to take the quarterbacks in the first 3 overall picks unless you're stupid. That's what the draft analysts were saying. So what? Can you not scout? Are you just as bad as Belichick, but for different reasons? I mean, it's really getting kind of infuriating because you look at this, you look at everything as a whole, right? You're looking at everything as a whole. You draft a kid that's extremely raw. You're scared. You are scared of him playing behind this offensive line because you know it's a makeshift O-line. It is crap The only guy that's worth being there is David Andrews, and he's on the latter half of his career. I can't believe he's still around. I thought he was going to retire last season. I think that was floated out, rumored about. And then you signed Michael Owenu to be the right tackle, but then all of training camp you threw him at right guard. So you're paying him tackle money, but he's playing right guard. Then you have what? Chukwuekorfor, who knows what he's going to do. He's not been good. You have Calvin Anderson, who he's coming back from having malaria. Like, you could have gone out. You could have gone after Jonah Williams in free agency. You could have gone after Tyron Smith in free agency. And guess what? You would have had to pay them, overpay them. Yet, nope. We're good with the offensive line that we have, when in reality, you're not. When in reality, that's the reason why you sat Drake Maye. You have no targets for him to throw to. Yes, you have Jalen Polk, who's looked very good in this training camp. You have Javon Baker, who's made some good plays. You've had Pop Douglas, who, as long as the kid can stay healthy, he's the only guy that can get open. But guess what? That means Pop Douglas is going to be your number one receiver. And do you know how easy it is for the rest of the NFL to cover a guy who's 5'8"? Excuse me, 5'9"? It's on everybody. Honest to God, whatever happens this season, I would be shocked if they have the same record they did last season. Meaning, they're going to lose a lot more games than they're going to win. And I mean a lot more games. If they somehow get 4-13 again, I'd be surprised. I even think the draft odds right now have the Patriots win total at 3.5. Like that's how bad this team is this season. Trying to figure it out, it's scary. It really is. The Patriots aren't even favored in any game this season. Like, that's where I just sit there and I go, well, that's it. This is going to be a team that is not going to do well. I don't believe they are. And I'm not trying to sit here and, bash on this team. Like, I want this team to do well. I mean, we all love football. Football is the sport. But with how everything has gone, with how we're, just taking step after step, are those steps the right steps? Because it doesn't feel like it. It doesn't feel like it at all. Now, before I get to the Red Sox, I want to get to the Celtics. I want to get to the stop disbelieving. Stop disbelieving in Jason Tatum, Steve Kerr, Team USA, and even some of the guys here at the Grid Network. Love you guys, truly mean it. But you might want to check some of the stats or some of the facts, because while, Tatum didn't shoot well, not making a single three, shooting 38%, both of which were team worst. I get it. I'm not going to argue with what he did on the court. What I will argue with were the minutes that he played, because Bryson, love you, mean it, but when you came out and said that Jason Tatum played the fifth most minutes for Team USA, I would respectfully disagree with you. Why? Because you say that he averaged 19.9 minutes per game, where if we're doing the same math, he did not play in game one. Then he played 17-10 in game 2, 22-44 in game 3, 19-50 in game 4, DNP in game 5, which was the Serbia comeback. And then against France, he played 11-03. So the more I thought about that, the more I'm just thinking to myself, like, wait. How did those 4 numbers equal out to 19 minutes average? I'm here to tell you, they don't. Because if you average just the 4 games that Tatum played in, and what the totals were for that, he averaged 17 minutes and 41 seconds per game in the 4 games that he did play. If you count the 2 Serbia games in the Olympics, that means all 6. So take all the numbers, divided by 6. He averaged 11 minutes and 47 seconds, which makes it the second fewest on Team USA. So now it got me thinking, well, how did they get 19.9? How did Bryson get 19.9? And by the way, if you haven't checked out Carving It Up with Bryson, do it. It's a great show. He does great work. Like I said, no disrespect. I'm just bringing out the numbers. So how do they get 19.9? My thought is, and this is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you included the showcase, the before the Olympics even happened, the games in Vegas and the games in Abu Dhabi, which I would contend that's not the Olympics. That's not why us Boston sports fans are angry at Steve Kerr for not playing Jason Tatum. We're angry because in the Olympics, Jason Tatum, the only USA-born first-team All-NBA who just won an NBA championship, did not get a sniff. Now, why did he not get a sniff? Sure, if you want to go to the stats, I'm not going to argue with that. But what I would say is Jason played a lot of minutes in Vegas and in Abu Dhabi. Then, in the first game of the group stage in the Olympics, he was a healthy scratch by Steve Kerr. Why Steve Kerr first gave that it was matchup based. It was matchup based. Meanwhile, just fun fact, they played Serbia and Abu Dhabi, and Tatum played one of the most minutes on the team in that game versus Serbia. So if it's matchup based, then why did he play in the first go around? Why did he play during the showcase when nothing mattered? When all the pools were set, the group stage was set, next thing you do is just go to the Olympics, play ball. I don't know. And I'm here to tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if Tatum's poor performance, lack of enthusiasm was more or less just okay, I'm a DNP, really? I'm a healthy scratch. I just won the NBA, my first NBA championship. I was one of the main guys on that team. If it wasn't for Jaylen Brown's game 1 and game 2, I probably would have won Finals MVP. Could have been. And so with all of that running through his mind, he gets sat for the first game of the Olympics. I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few things that just affected him mentally, where that's why he had his poor performance. That's why he wasn't up to snuff. That's why he wasn't, quote unquote, clicking with the rest of the team. And so if you're going to take the only USA guy who's a first-team All-NBA, who just won his first NBA championship and was one of the key factors in that, then why even bother? Why even bother playing? You know? And listen, I'm not sitting here trying to be, say, oh, well, this is a little league. Everybody gets to play. It's the Olympics. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. You have a guy that is the future of the NBA. You have a guy that could be the next face and has talked about being the next face of the NBA. What a great opportunity for him to come out and make a show of it. But no, Steve Kerr had to make it a boys' club between LeBron, KD, and Steph. You had LeBron, who averaged the most minutes. You had Steph Curry, who averaged the second most. Then you had KD, who averaged third most, and then Devin Booker, because it's KD's boy, averaged the fourth most. Like, that is the Olympics. It's always been a boys' club. Always. Ever since they allowed NBA players to be a part of the Olympics, it's always been a boys' club. So, yeah. So, fun fact, Tatum should have 1,000% played and gotten a hell of a lot more minutes than just 1147. Honestly, what a joke that whole thing was. And if you want to talk to me about, playing and poor performance in minutes, well, fun fact, in game 2 against South Sudan, Steph Curry had 3 points on 1 of 9 shooting. He made a 2-point and then got the and 1. 3 points and went 0 from the line. Yet in game 3, he only lost a minute of playing time. So in game 2, where he had that awful shooting performance, he went 17:57, and then game 3, he didn't get benched. He played 16 minutes and 34 seconds. So again, we could go back and forth on numbers and all of that, and that's not to say that Steph Curry's not a great player. That's not what I'm implying. I'm just implying that if it's math, if it's numbers, if it's all of these things, guess what? Doesn't matter. Tatum should have been out there, because I have my stats, you have your stats. Just if you want to come at me with the minutes played, it's about the 6 games in the Olympics. Not anything, not the showcase. Showcase doesn't count when we're talking about the Olympics. And now, moving on to the Red Sox. The Boston Red Sox have not been good. They haven't. Ever since the All-Star break, they have played in 23 total games, going 10-13, allowing 48 home runs. That's right. You heard me. 23 games, they've allowed 48 home runs, and that's not talking about the game that's going on right now. The game that's going on right now, the Red Sox have a 4-2 lead, and the Rangers have actually homered twice. So make that 50 home runs in 24 games played so far, because it's top of the 7th, and the Sox, like I said, have a 4-2 lead. And the Rangers have a man on first with 1 out. But as the wild card standings look, it's gotten a little adjusted. So the Orioles are number 1 because the Yankees have the best record in the AL East. They have a 4.5 game lead on the Royals. The Twins have a 1.5 game lead on the Royals. The Royals are in 3rd, and the Red Sox have as many losses as the Royals, but they're a 1.5 games back of KC after winning 2 straight, and they're looking for the sweep tonight. The Red Sox are looking to win 3 straight, looking to sweep the Rangers tonight. And of course, so when it came to the trade deadline, because that's the last time we were on. The last time we were on was the trade deadline, where the Red Sox made minor moves. And I was kind of like, okay, I wasn't happy about it. Was I happy that Breslow was able to deal minor league prospects to actually get guys? Yeah, I was. That was like, okay, that's a fresh thing from what Chaim Bloom did. But what did he do? He added 5 players, 4 arms, one of which came from waivers. And one of those arms is a future prospect in Quinn Priester. But the 2 big names that they got were 37-year-old Luis Garcia, who, if you remember on the trade deadline show, I mistaked Garcia for another Luis Garcia. Yeah, because that's hard to do. And I thought it's like, hey, look, we're actually getting a guy. We're gonna get a guy, but nope, it was a 37-year-old reliever. And in the 5 games that he's pitched in a Red Sox uniform, he has a 12 ERA, a big, fat 12 ERA. Like, are we serious? 12 earned runs in 5 appearances. Meanwhile, Lucas Sims, the guy from the Reds, in 6 appearances, he has a 7.50 ERA, 7.5 ERA. Just because you get additional arms does not mean you're benefiting your club, because additional arms need to be above average, if not good, to make it worth your while. Now, I understand it was a seller's market and everything was going crazy, but you know what? It would have been nice for us to go and get a Garrett Crochet. Jack Flaherty went for pennies on the dollar. And of course, the freaking Dodgers, who I don't even consider to have a real fan base, got away with it. They just keep adding. They're adding. They're like the Rams a few years ago. You know, not to cross sports, but still. Like, am I happy that the Red Sox added? No. Why? Because they didn't add. They didn't. Just because you get bodies doesn't mean you're adding. Like, it's I know that kind of sounds convoluted, but it really isn't. I would rate, and again, I also have, 2 weeks removed, but I think I even rated it then a C-. I rated it live that day, a C- trade deadline. And I'm sticking to that C-, if not going lower. That's where I stand. That's where we sit here on August 14th. Now, of course, if the Red Sox are able to make the playoffs, anything can happen. And who knows, maybe both those guys, one of those guys will come through in the clutch in a big situation. But we need to get there first, because don't forget, we're sitting a game and a half behind the Royals. And we just got our asses handed to us by the freaking Astros at Fenway. And the last thing I want to talk about is speaking on the trade deadline, speaking about adding, right? Chris Gasper, the Boston Globe, who seems like a good dude. Don't know him from a hole in the wall, but seems like a good dude. He writes an article titled, "Even if they fail to make the playoffs, this season has been a success for Craig Breslow's Red Sox." I'm already mad. Because he goes on to say, from a purely 30,000-foot view, this season already can be counted on as a success for the Sox. They do not have to punch a ticket to the postseason to secure that designation. The wheel of progress has decisively turned in year 1 of the Craig Breslow baseball operations regime. He continues, Regardless of how the season ends, the Sox restored their relevance in the marketplace, recaptured the interest of the fan base, reestablished a competitive product, rededicated the organization to winning now by at least attempting to add at the trade deadline, even if it was a begrudging bare minimum, and managed to re-sign manager Alex Cora. Now, I don't know about you, but anytime people call a Boston sports team that season a success, where they didn't make the playoffs, they made the playoffs, but got absolutely trounced in the playoffs in that first round, even if they weren't supposed to make the playoffs. I'm sorry. I cannot call that a success. I find that line of thinking part of a fan base like Tampa, part of a fan base like Oakland, Texas, like Minnesota. Fan bases that expect very little from their teams. In Boston, we don't expect that. We don't expect the bare minimum. We don't expect very little. We expect to compete for championships. Now, does that mean we're going to make the finals every year? We're going to make the Super Bowl. We're going to make, like whatever league it's in. We're going to be at the finals every single year. We're going to win every year. No. We as a fan base are smarter than that. We are. But if you're telling me you can call this year a success because we had a stretch of baseball where fans were excited because we were winning, we were competing with the top teams in baseball, and then you go and have a rocky start after the All-Star game, then you go out and do basically the bare minimum. You trade for average, if not below average, relief pitchers and one future pitcher who the hell knows how that's going to turn out. And you call that a success? Even if you do get into the first, you do get into that wild card game. You get into the wild card game, then what? And you get your doors knocked off? Would you still call that a success because we made the playoffs? No, I don't. Because I expect to make the playoffs and compete. That's all I'm asking for. It's not that hard. And with a major market like Boston, do you think that's friggin' doable? Do you think that should be doable? Yeah, it should be. And I'm not, and listen, if you were around and got to experience like the heartache that was the Red Sox back in the day, that, was the Patriots organization where they sucked. If you got to experience, the heartache of the Bruins and the Celtics in the 90s, like, comment in, like, let me know, like, if you think I'm sounding like a guy that saw all four teams win a championship before he was even 20. Because, I mean, it's not hard. Like, I'm not expecting championships. But what I am expecting is for my teams to compete. My teams to be active and aggressive. Because what we've had here as a Red Sox fan in 2020, in 2019 even, 2019, 2020, and then 22 and 23 was nothing short of atrocious. From ownership all the way to the players. Nothing short of atrocious. Because of, as I've said 100,000 times, You get rid of a superstar for scrubs. For scrubs. You brought in an awful general manager, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, I could go on. But is it too much to ask for my ownership to want to spend money? Is it too much to ask for my general managers to go out and make aggressive moves that bring us one step closer to winning or competing for and winning a championship? Is it too much to ask for my players to give it their all? And with this Red Sox team, they gave it their all. I don't know what's been going on since the All-Star game, but this team has been giving it all. It's all for almost the whole season. So that's where I'm just like, I'm sitting there wondering to myself, thinking to myself, is it too much to ask for us to win? Is it not just to win, but to compete, to want to compete? You know, that, like, of all the championship teams I've ever heard of, part of that locker room was competing in the stupidest things. Ping pong, darts, pool, whatever. You name it, cards. Cards are a big thing. Whatever, you name it. They were competing because they wanted to win. They wanted to win. And so with this Red Sox team and some of the fans around here and some of you guys that, are comfortable with having a fun little run, but then, we didn't make the playoffs, but at the start of the season, we weren't expected to make the playoffs. Tim, didn't you say that, you wanted this team to finish in last out of spite? Yeah, I did. I wanted them to finish last out of spite. But then I watched them play. And I got to see them live. And I'm like, damn, this is a fun team. This would be a great team to talk about, to write about, and to, hey, make a series about, which they're doing. But that's where it bothers me, because while the team is giving their all, while Alex Cora is giving his all, you have everybody upstairs who's like, we'll wait until the big three make it to the majors. We'll wait until they get here. Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony, and Kyle Teal. We'll wait until them, and then we can start to reinvest. Why? Because they're going to be on such cheap deals that we can go out and we can sign everybody. Oh, wait a minute. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Yeah. The Patriots sold you a bill of goods. As long as we have that rookie quarterback deal, we can go out and sign everybody to massive contracts. We can overpay for linemen and receivers because our quarterback is on a rookie deal. Yeah, well, how's that worked out? Because that's what I feel like the Red Sox are trying to do with Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony, and Kyle Teal. They're young. They have potential. But at the end of the day, it's all potential. There is nothing like playing in the big leagues. No matter how far up the minors you make it, AAA is not a tier below the majors. It's not. So it's kind of frustrating. It's kind of sad. And tomorrow, hopefully we get to see at least 2 more drives of Drake Maye. The Patriots are playing tomorrow night. They're playing the Eagles. And from what I hear about joint practice, it's not going well. But well, I'll be watching. I'll be wearing my jersey, my Gronk jersey tomorrow night. So it's hopefully we can do something. And before I go, it's the top of the 8th, and the Red Sox still have a 4-3 lead The Red Sox gave up a third home run, so that's 51 homers in 24 games. So it's 4-3 Red Sox in the top of the eighth with one out. But hey, coming from the great white north, I am Tim Barnard. This is the Boston Sports Summit presented by the Grid Network. So tune in. We're live every Wednesday. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Please give a follow. Check out the social medias. We got Boston Sports Summit on Instagram, Boston Sports Summit on X. Otherwise, and the handle is BOS Sports Summit. Then we got the Boston Sports Summit on YouTube, and always going live on the Grid Network. So thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you next week. See ya, and God bless.